Saturday, February 20th. No fixed schedule today except a meeting with Colombo to bid him farewell, which was first thing this morning. That led, of course, to the inevitable objection to second-day meetings with foreign visitors. And he had Henry in this morning and outlined some rules as to who does and doesn't get in for this kind of session from now on. Henry was delighted with the way the president had handled the meeting this morning with Colombo and told the president so, particularly because he had made some strong points regarding internal politics, which is all that really matters to the Italians. The president made the point to them that Chile had fallen to the Marxists simply because the good guys were fighting each other instead of uniting against the common enemy. This is a similar danger in Italy, and Henry was delighted the president put it so squarely to them, especially with Moro, who is the real strongman, and now the foreign minister, sitting in on the meeting. The news flap today was on an Arthur Burns story in the paper this morning, resulting from his testimony yesterday, where he had said that the problem wasn't one of money supply, but rather of confidence, thereby implying that he, as chairman, didn't have confidence in the president's policies. The president was really upset about this. Arthur was trying to call him during the day, and the president said he would not take the call and rather had me call Arthur and tell him of his distress and make the point strongly to Arthur that he can't get away with this kind of thing. The president has the strong feeling that we've got to really put the screws onto Arthur, and that he is not showing the proper gratitude or appreciation for presidents having put him where he is. Another flap arose from the continuing effort of McCloskey to discuss impeachment of the president. He's not actually called for it, but he keeps talking about it. We're going to move now to get a petition going in McCloskey's district demanding his resignation and putting the heat on him since he's betrayed the trust of the Republicans who elected him. There was the usual relaxed Saturday morning with long chats with Ehrlichman on some of the above, and then with Colson on how his project Muskie is coming along and some ideas on ways to carry that further ahead, also on general PR planning and thinking. Just before the president left for Camp David, I discussed the planning for the State of the World with him and recommended that he not go ahead with his plan to go on live television Thursday night with an address on the subject because it's not of sufficient news value or general importance. As a result of talking this over, the conclusion was that the best thing to do would be to do a nationwide radio address at noon on Thursday, and then film a quick clip for television for the news that evening, rather than requesting time. I think this will be much better, and we're going ahead on that basis. The president then left for Camp David to spend the night. He called a couple of times after he got up there, mainly on details of the State of the World thing, winding up that he wanted Sapphire to call him, and then he's having Sapphire go up tomorrow to work out some revisions with him. End of February 20th. Sunday, February 21st. Presidents at Camp David spent the whole day up there, worked with Sapphire for a while on the revise of the State of the World. He called me once, mainly to discuss the State of the World plans. He's agreed to Sapphire's idea of doing a fireside chat, but also agreed to Ziegler's feeling that it shouldn't be hoked up as far as Sapphire wanted to by doing it in the diplomatic reception room, but rather should be done in some other location, probably the EOB. He then discussed again the general schedule plans for press conferences and TV appearances and agreed to the basic plan we had settled on yesterday, end of February 21st. Monday, February 22nd. The President had a very full schedule, so I didn't spend much time with him except a couple of short sessions in and out where he went through a number of odds and ends. For example, he was upset because Mrs. Nixon's show on of black art didn't get any publicity, and he wants to set up a series of PNTs with the congressional wives. He's decided to do a couple more sittings for portraits to try and get a good one. He wants to be sure and send a nice personal note to Harriet Elam, thanking her for her services. And he wanted Ehrlichman to follow up with Ronald Reagan on the McCloskey problem. In a meeting this afternoon with Dr. David, he called me in to set some schedule things for a meeting with PSAC, but then also got into a discussion of the use of aerospace unemployed scientists, and made the point that he wants to try to redirect some of the science grants to this purpose. Feels that if we can spend $600 million in things through the National Science Foundation, we ought to be able to devote $100 million or so of that to the taking care of this serious unemployment problem. It's particularly sensitive because the people that are unemployed are basically our supporters this time, and also are highly articulate. A little later he had Harlow in and chatted for about a half an hour before he remembered what the purpose of the meeting was, which was to get into the problem of the vice president. Before that, he discussed the farm question, and Bryce urged him to try again on Hyde-Murray, but also recommended Earl Botts of Purdue as an alternative that would be preferable to Spitzer, whom the president had concluded was our only other possibility. The real problem with the vice president is basically his staff, and Harlow had a few suggestions, none of them very good, as to possibilities for correction there. In any event, he's going to talk to Roy Gooderl and see what he can dredge up as to possible solutions, but he admits that it won't be easy to lick this one. The other part of the problem is the vice president's super sensitivity to taking instructions from low-level people, and his particular sensitivity to the White House. In any event, the president asked Bryce to step in and help to try to work this out, which he's agreed to do. I had a 3-hour lunch with Rogers, ostensibly for the purpose of discussing State Department personnel, which we did go into in considerable detail. It was clear, however, that Rogers' principal concern was to try to work out the Henry Kissinger problem, and he specifically asked for ways that he could direct communications to the president directly rather than via Henry. Also wanted some help on trying to undo some of the operation of the NISMs, which have him concerned, as well as Mel Laird. Basically, he is sincerely trying to do what he thinks is best for the president, and of course so is Henry, but the two of them just stay on a collision course, and somehow we've got to figure out how to work it out. Henry caught me later and made it clear that his dissatisfaction is again reaching a peak also, so we have a lot to do. The other area of discussion today was the plans for the State of the World message, and we've gone back and forth on this, but the conclusion is to stay with the radio announcement, although Henry made a strong pitch and asked me to get into it with the President for reopening the question of doing it on live TV at night. The President feels very strongly this is not the right thing to do, so it's now finally been ruled out. Ziegler argues that we should release the text on Thursday, the same time as the radio address, and I've now concurred in that, and that's the plan we're going ahead with. End of February 22nd.